everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be bringing you a classics book haul. You may notice that I'm back in my old filming location. Basically where I was filming for the last few videos is essentially under where the camera is now. You know the way when you are a teenager you have like an emo or a scene phase? I had a filming on the floor phase. And now I'm back to having all my beautiful books in the background. Although to be fair, we're not going to have this background for too much longer because I am going to be moving. More on that in another video. But I was going to film like a massive book haul where I spoke about all of the books that I have accumulated, or all of the physical books that I've accumulated over the past few months. But I just love compartmentalizing things and breaking things down into categories, so I've decided to do that instead, and today I'm going to be bringing you the classics book haul. So anyway, let's just get into the books. You've probably seen these books floating around the internet and seen them in bookshops, but I picked up 3 of the Penguin Modern Classics books. These are all so modern classics, they are short stories, they are non-fiction essays, and I think what is really fantastic about these publications is that I think there's a real focus on diversity and listening to diverse voices, which is totally valuable. I've picked up 3 of them so far, and I know I will pick up more of them, but I picked up the first book in the collection, which is A Letter from Birmingham Jail by Dr. Martin Luther King. Obviously, Martin Luther King is one of the world's greatest activists. This is all about non-violent resistance in the fight against racism, and unfortunately I think there are going to be a number of things in this that are still painfully relevant. I picked up number 23 in the collection, which is Audre Lorde's The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. This writer was a self-described black lesbian mother warrior poet. In here we have urgent essays on what it is like to be a woman, and specifically what it's like to be a black lesbian woman. There's also a lot to do with poetry and the power of poetry in this, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one as well. The final Penguin Modern mini classic thing that I picked up was number 38, which is Dark Days by James Baldwin. And again, these are political essays about what it is like to deal with racial prejudice in America. So yeah, I think all 3 of these are going to be really important and valuable reads. I love these small books that cost like £1 or a couple of pounds that you're seeing more and more now, and I think they were kind of kick-started really by Penguin's Little Black Classics. I have quite a few of these now. I tend to pick up one every now and again, but my most recent acquisition is Daphnis and Chloe, which is by Longus. On the back it says, 2 young lovers battle pirates, rivals, and their own confused feelings in this tender pastoral romance from ancient Greece. I haven't read a lot of like classical Greek or Roman literature. It's not something that I have a lot of experience in, but our resident Greek and Roman expert on BookTube, Jean's Bookish Thoughts, has really spoken highly about this one, and I thought I would give it a go. I also have 4 Penguin English Library books. If you've been here for any amount of time, you know that I collect these editions of classics, and I would like to do a full video on my relationship with these books and why I collect them. I do like to try and find one whenever I like visit a new place, or even a place I've been before, if I'm just on like a weekend away or a work trip. I will talk more about that in the full video on why I love these books so much. But when I was in London with my boyfriend, we went to the Harry Potter studios, we stayed in Watford, and then we commuted into London because I thought that was the best way to do it. I found 3 of the Penguin English Library books. I found 2 of them at the South Bank Book Fair, and if you are ever in London, this is like one of the things that I highly recommend you doing if you are a bookish person. So there I picked up A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. I've read quite a few of the Sherlock Holmes stories and I've always really enjoyed them. I think they're a lot of fun. But A Study in Scarlet is about the early days of Holmes and Watson's friendship, and we find out exactly how Watson ended up becoming involved in this crime-solving duo. The second one I picked up at South Bank was Kim by Rudyard Kipling. And I have some slight reservations about this book. I hated The Jungle Book. I really didn't like it. I didn't like it just in terms of the stories, but I also didn't like how imperialistic it was. I think Rudyard Kipling wasn't a very good person. Kim is considered Kipling's masterpiece, although I think it is obviously slightly less well known than The Jungle Book. It's a coming-of-age story about an adolescent boy who was born and raised in India and likes to play with the children in the slums. He is white and, according to the back, would like to play the great game of imperialism. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about this one, and when I do my full discussion video on collecting Penguin English Library books, I will talk about owning texts that you're not really a fan of. And finally, this is one that I picked up in the Oxfam bookshop. It's one of the Penguin English Library books that I picked up without really knowing too much about it, and that is The Man Who Was Thursday by G.K. Chesterton. This has been described as the best spy novel ever written, and I haven't really read many, if any, spy novels, so I think this is a good place to start. It is a strange and haunting novel about anarchists and undercover policemen, and it's about a man who is sent by Scotland Yard to infiltrate the Central Anarchist Council. There's also some dynamite on the cover, so that is definitely intriguing. And finally, I have a Penguin English Library book that I got in a local bookstore, and I picked up Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This has been a really high priority acquisition for me. It's one that I really wanted to find because these are the editions that I want to collect all of Jane Austen's work in. This one's pretty battered. It's not in particularly great condition, but you know, I like the fact that it has been previously loved. I'm not too fussy about the condition. There's only been one occasion that I have chosen not to buy one of these books that I found because of the condition it was in, and that was just really, really bad. It had like loads of water damaging, the spine was really badly curved. So yeah, they are all the Penguin English Library books that I picked up. If you don't think this next book is a modern classic, you can fight me. I picked up Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding. This is a Picador classic, and I absolutely love this cover. I think it's stunning. I read Bridget Jones' Diary probably like a year and a half ago now, and I absolutely loved it. So when I found this book secondhand in like perfect condition, I jumped at the chance to get it. I think it's one that I will definitely want to reread one day. I'm really glad that I own a copy. If you don't know anything about Bridget Jones, this is about a woman in her 30s who is dealing with her career, dealing with her romantic life, dealing with societal pressures that women face at that time in their life. It's hilarious, it's touching. It has so many intricacies and so much depth to it that I think so many people really don't realise, and it's something that I didn't realise until I read it, and it is definitely a modern classic. And finally, I have some children's classics, the first of which is a book that I already own a copy of, and it is a book that I don't yet have in the Penguin English Library edition that I would like to collect one day, but it is one of my favourite books of all time, so I don't really mind owning several copies of it, and that is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. This is the 150th anniversary edition of this book, and it is published by Alma Classics. They publish so many beautiful books, and if I hadn't already like collected a lot of those books in the Penguin English Library edition, I would be so tempted to collect these. But I think I will limit it to my favourite book for now. I absolutely adored this cover. I loved the colour palette that's used. I loved the foiling. I don't really feel like I need to tell you about Alice in Wonderland. It is one of those stories that is so heavily embedded in like public consciousness. It's a story that we know a lot about just through growing up. But I love analysing the shit out of this book. And the final books that I'm going to talk about are 3 Roald Dahl books. Now, my boyfriend's parents were moving house recently, so we went back to the house that he grew up in and went through a lot of his old stuff. He chucked a lot of stuff away, which I was surprised and impressed by. I wasn't too fussed on keeping these books, but I asked if I could have them. So I thought it would be really nice to have these ones, and it's so cute because like on the inside cover, he has his name written in like really childish handwriting, and I think it's adorable. But the 3 he had that I have taken are The Giraffe, The Pelly and Me, The BFG, and The Witches. I don't actually remember too much about The Giraffe, The Pelly and Me. I know it's about like a little boy that goes on adventures with these 3 animals. The BFG, obviously about the friendship that forms between a young girl named Sophie and the big friendly giant who uses extraordinary, exciting, innovative, funny language. And The Witches, which is of course about witches. I very briefly wrote about this in an essay last year that I did for university, but it's been quite a while since I actually read it. I think of the 3, this is the one that I'm most likely to reread quite soon. So yeah, they are all my recent classics acquisitions. I quite like the fact that a lot of these books have stories behind them of how I acquired them. It's quite nice, isn't it? I think sometimes sometimes booktube has a reputation of being incredibly materialistic, and I think I definitely am quite materialistic when it comes to my books, but sometimes there are proper personal stories that are attached to them, no matter how insignificant they might seem to other people. I just really like being able to attach books to the experience in which I found them. So yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about today. Do let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on them. I hope you guys are all well, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.